changes on the horizon.
Who put the body on my property?
Horizon.
That a good thing?
The 10-pedal is unlike any other.
On the next episode of Dutton Ranch.
But knowing when to walk away is just as valuable as knowing when to fight.
Put the gun down.
They didn't just end episode 5, they lit a fuse. And everything you saw in that trailer for episode 6 is about to change the Dutton legacy forever. Episode 5 of Dutton Ranch didn't just raise the stakes, it completely flipped the board. We saw Rabiel return from rehab, walking back onto that ranch like a man who's supposed to be changed but carrying the same fire in his eyes that got him into trouble in the first place. And then came the moment that shifted everything. Rip pulling Beth aside and revealing the dark truth that Wes's body had been discovered on their property. That's not just a problem. That's a ticking time bomb buried right underneath everything the Duttons are trying to build. And now with the trailer for episode 6 dropping, it's clear that this story is about to get significantly darker, significantly more dangerous, and the decisions that these characters make in the next episode are going to have consequences that stretch far beyond what any of them are prepared for. So let's break down every moment of that trailer, because there is a lot happening beneath the surface that deserves a closer look. The trailer opened in the dead of night, and that choice alone tells you everything about the tone of what's coming. Darkness in storytelling is never accidental. It's deliberate. And when the very first shot places Rip behind the wheel of his truck, pulled over on the side of a quiet road with Hayne sitting beside him trembling, you immediately understand the power dynamic at play. Hayne wasn't there by choice. That much was obvious from his body language alone. He was shaking, visibly uncomfortable, and completely out of his element. And this is something that's been building since the early episodes. Hayne has always been the Jackson brother who doesn't quite fit the mold. He doesn't have that cold, calculated edge that Rabiel carries naturally. He's not built for the dark side of what that family has always operated in the shadows. He was pulled into this world by the weight of the Jackson name, and without his mother's presence or the protection of that family reputation standing behind him, he's a frightened man who doesn't know which way to run. And then Rip looked at him and said it plainly, "I want to know who put the body on my property." Now that line stopped me because this is not the direction I expected Rip to move in, at least not this early. Rip Wheeler has always been a man who keeps his cards close. He observes, he calculates, and he strikes when the timing is exactly right. So to see him show his hand this openly, this early in the season, tells us one very important thing. Rip feels the pressure closing in, and he's decided that going on the offensive is the only move that makes sense right now. He's not waiting for the problem to come to him. He's walking straight toward it. And by cornering Hayne, the weakest link in the Jackson chain, he's choosing the most strategic entry point into unraveling whatever web the Jackson family has been spinning around the Dutton Ranch. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Hayne finding himself in that truck with Rip puts him at an impossible crossroads. Because on one side you have the family that gave him a home, a name, and a place in the world. And on the other side you have the cold reality that no matter how much he's given to the Temptal Ranch, no matter how much he's bled for it, Ba has already made her decision. She's not leaving that ranch to Hain. She's looking toward Rabiel or her granddaughter Oriana, the blood relatives, and Hain, for all his loyalty and sacrifice, is going to be left with nothing. That kind of betrayal doesn't sit quietly inside a man. It festers. And Rip, being as sharp as he is, can sense that resentment from a mile away. So don't be surprised if we see Hain make a move that nobody sees coming. Dropping Rabiel's name to Rip and turning his back on the very family he sacrificed everything for. That would be the kind of twist that completely reshapes the entire second half of this season. The trailer then shifted to Beth, and seeing her in that business environment was a reminder of just how dangerous she truly is. Not with her fists but with her mind. Beth and Buler were sitting together in a formal business meeting, and Beth was leading the conversation with a line that carried more weight than it appeared to on the surface. She said, "The temple is unlike any other, but knowing when to walk away is just as valuable as knowing when to fight." That is not just business talk. That is Beth Dutton operating in her highest form. Reading the room, controlling the narrative, and making Buler feel seen and respected all at once. And Buler's reaction said everything. She was watching Beth with an expression that sat somewhere between surprise and genuine admiration. Because Buler Jackson is not a woman who impresses easily. She has spent decades running a ranch and a family empire with an iron grip, and she has seen every kind of operator walk through her doors. But Beth is something different, and Buler is beginning to feel that. This deal between Beth and Buler is going to work. And I say that not just because the story needs it to. I say it because the dynamic between these two women is the most compelling relationship the show has built so far. Beth needs Buler's trust to stay close enough to gather the information that she and Rip are quietly working to uncover. And Buler, whether she fully realizes it yet or not, needs someone like Beth in her corner. Someone who understands power, who understands negotiation, and who can walk into a room full of sharks and come out with exactly what she went in for. The more time these two spend together, the more Buler is going to see that Beth isn't just competent, she's exceptional. And that respect is going to grow into something that becomes a genuine bond, even if both women would never openly admit it. But here is where the real conflict is going to ignite. Because while Beth and Buler are building something in those boardrooms, Rabiel is watching from the outside. And Rabiel doesn't process things the way his mother does. He doesn't sit with information and analyze it calmly. He reacts. He sees Beth and Rip moving deeper into the Temptal Ranch's inner circle, and his instinct isn't going to be gratitude. It's going to be suspicion. He's going to look at every move Beth makes and every conversation Rip has on that property, and he's going to start believing that the Duttons are positioning themselves to take the Temptal Ranch from underneath his family entirely. And the dangerous thing about Rabiel is that even when his suspicion has no hard evidence behind it, he acts on it anyway. That's what makes him so volatile and so unpredictable as a character. He came out of rehab, but rehab didn't come out of him. The anger is still there. The paranoia is still there. And now he's back in an environment that feeds both of those things at full volume. The trailer then gave us a quieter but deeply meaningful moment between Buler and Everett. She looked at him and said simply, "Change is on the horizon." And Everett responded by asking, "Is that a good thing?" That exchange is small on the surface but enormous underneath. Because when Buler talks about change, she could be referring to the new energy that Rip has brought to the ranch as foreman, the structure, the discipline, the sense that things are finally running the way they should. She could be acknowledging that Beth has already begun delivering on the promises she made when she stepped into her new role. But there's another layer to that conversation that feels more personal. Buler and Everett have a connection that runs deeper than their current circumstances allow them to fully explore. Everett has been careful to keep a certain distance because he knows the world that Buler lives in, and he's not sure he wants any part of it. But Buler saying change is on the horizon feels like a woman who is hoping that the life she's built is finally evolving into something that might actually have room for the things she wants personally, not just professionally. She may be telling Everett, in the most guarded way she knows how, that she sees a future that looks different from the past. Then the trailer accelerated and the shots started coming fast, and each one of them landed with serious weight. The first was Chad moving through the darkness, and that image alone sent a clear signal about what's coming. Chad has always existed in Rabiel's orbit, loyal, willing, and easily influenced by whoever has the strongest pull on him in any given moment. And now that Rabiel is out of rehab and has gone straight back to Chad's side, that loyalty has been reactivated. Whatever Rabiel is planning, Chad is going to be the instrument he uses to carry it out. Because Rabiel is smart enough to know that he can't be the one getting his hands dirty right now. Not this early after walking out of a rehabilitation facility with everyone watching his every move. So he'll use Chad. He'll wind him up, point him in the right direction and let him go. And that connects directly to the most intense moment in the entire trailer. Hayne on the floor on his knees with a bloody lip and his hands raised, saying, "Wait, wait." This wasn't a random confrontation. This was calculated. Because Hayne had previously threatened Chad. And Chad has been carrying that around like a wound that hasn't healed. And now that he has Rabiel standing behind him, now that he feels protected and emboldened in a way he hasn't before, he's found the courage, or at least what he believes is courage, to stand up to the brother who has always made him feel small. The hand holding the weapon was visibly shaking, and that detail is critical. Rip Wheeler does not shake. Rip is cold steel when he's in those moments. Whoever was holding that weapon was running on pure emotion, pure adrenaline, and that points directly to Chad, a man who has never truly been in that position before and is barely holding himself together in the middle of it. Rabiel himself appeared in the trailer loading his weapon and pointing it towards someone off-screen, And that single shot confirmed everything we needed to know about where his head is at. Rehab was a formality, a performance for his mother, for the ranch, for the public image of the Jackson family. But the moment he was back on that property, the mask came off. He is exactly who he was before he walked through those doors, and possibly more dangerous now because he's had weeks of forced stillness to let his anger crystallize into something sharper and more focused. He's not going to ease back into ranch life quietly. He's going to start pushing immediately, and everyone around him is going to feel it. There was also a shot of a body lying in the road with what appeared to be Sheriff Wade standing over it, and that image raises enormous questions about how deep the corruption in Rio Paloma truly runs. The sheriff has always been in the Jackson family's pocket. That's been established clearly from the beginning of the season. So if Chad has done something, or if Rabiel has already made a move that crossed a line, the sheriff being on the scene isn't reassurance. It's a cover-up in progress. That body in the road is not going to get the investigation it deserves. It's going to get buried, just like everything else the Jacksons need to disappear. And underneath all of this, the story of Carter and Oriana is still quietly simmering in the background. Carter watched Dwight die right in front of him, and that experience doesn't leave a person unchanged. That kind of trauma either breaks you or it builds something new in you. A depth, a seriousness, a respect for the people who have been through worse and kept standing. I think we're going to see Carter begin to mature in episode 6 in ways that feel earned and real. His relationship with Beth and Rip is going to shift because of what he witnessed, and the rift that existed between them is going to start closing. At the same time, Oriana's boyfriend hasn't forgotten what Carter did to his car, and that subplot hasn't gone away. It's just been waiting for the right moment to come back around with force. Dutton Ranch has done something remarkable with this season. It has taken two characters who were always the most electric presences in Yellowstone, and given them a stage that is entirely their own. Beth and Rip deserved this. The fans deserved this. And with every episode that passes, this show is proving that the heart of what made Yellowstone so powerful was never the land disputes or the political battles. It was always the people. It was always the love story built on loyalty and sacrifice, and the willingness to burn everything down for the ones you protect. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, now is the time, because we are breaking down every episode of Dutton Ranch as it drops, and you do not want to miss a single theory, a single breakdown, or a single moment that this season delivers. Hit that like button if this breakdown gave you everything you needed, drop your theories in the comments below, and make sure that bell is on because when episode 6 hits we will be right here ready to break it all down again.